UNC media with takeaways from North Carolina's 69-56 win over UNCW in their opening game here as they try to repeat what a previous North Carolina team did, which is losing the national championship, return into the next one to win it with your core base still there, or the majority of your core base still there. And what we saw the other night is that this is going to be a tall task for this team, not because of this team being flawed or this or that, but simply because college basketball is so good and so competitive right now, and frankly, so mature right now that the task is hard. Remember now, North Carolina's playing in the conference where 5 different teams received the first place vote, despite the fact that North Carolina was a rebound or two from winning a national championship last year and have the quarterback. So keep in mind when there's up and downs throughout this season, that is not as simple. This team is not the Hansborough team that was so dominant, I believe, in '09. But we're going to start off with the things that jumped off to me. The first thing was the rebounding disparity in the favor of UNCW. North Carolina just seemed slogged on the offensive boards and the defensive boards all game, as if they felt like they didn't have to compete for rebounds, like the ball was just going to automatically come to them. And frankly, UNCW outworked them in that area, and the stats showed as they out-rebounded North Carolina 37-32. They had 16 offensive rebounds that led to 14 second chance points for the Seahawks. Now, that's something you if I had said that North Carolina did that, no one would be shocked. But the idea that North Carolina didn't do it and they allowed UNCW to do it certainly was something that was almost like a red flag that jumped out. Baycott did have 9 rebounds. He was in foul trouble, by the way, something that North Carolina cannot have throughout the year. But we did get to see what are some of the things that Carolina will do when they play small ball and have Nance as playing that center position. But North Carolina's rebounding wasn't there, and the intensity in the 1-2 wasn't there. And again, it's one game, and I'll say that all throughout this thing. It's one game, so you don't want to overreact to it. But certainly, they didn't fare well in that category, which is shocking for this team. The second thing was North Carolina only attempted 10 3-pointers, which is also kind of odd. Not to say that North Carolina with a lineup like this should shoot 43 a game. No one's asking that. 10 is not nearly enough. Now it's nearly enough in this game, a game like this, where they just kind of grinded their way out to the win. And you can say, that's the first one. We're kind of getting together. Didn't have Puff Johnson because he's injured right now and not available, blah, 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 blah. But that's just not good enough and should not be a product of this offense, which leads us to why was it a product of this offense? And the reason why was because North Carolina was so satisfied with walking the ball up the floor. Where was the push after makes? Where was the pushing even after misses? R.J. Davis and Caleb Love frequently walked the ball up the floor. They did not cause pace, didn't push pace, didn't do anything. The more possessions in this game, the more it would have been to UNC's favor and not allow UNCW play the pace that they wanted to play. But instead, not only did North Carolina not do that, they seemed like they willingly played UNCW's pace, which I can take right now. When I sit there first game and after first game, and when UVA has better pace and flow in pace in a game than North Carolina did in a game, that's terrible. That's just not how this team can play. And that's what it was. UVA's opening game had a lot more against North Carolina Central, had a lot more pace, a lot more push to it, a lot more energy and gumption and trying to get threes in transition, so on and so forth, a lot more. And that's disturbing because one of the things about this North Carolina team this year is supposed to have more depth. And it seemed like at times in game one that Hubert Davis was afraid to go to the bench. When you really look at it, they played their core 5 and Trimble got 15 and Dunn got 13 in ways of minutes. And then you can throw in 3 for Styles and 6 for Nichols. But that's not going to get it done throughout this year. And the solution can't be to play slower because that's not going to be the solution, not in that conference. That's not going to be the solution either. But again, it is game one. It's the first game of the year. Certainly makes you want to look at North Carolina over the next 2 to 3 games to see if this was just one of these things where they're easing into the season, or is it something that's going to be a theme throughout the season? Because if it's a theme throughout the season, it's not going to end the way that they wanted it to end. But again, a win is a win, especially here as Florida State. If a win is a win, that you have here. But Carolina certainly is going to have to turn around some of these things, and I'm sure that's being addressed by Coach Hubert Davis. So there it is. My takeaways from North Carolina and UNCW. Again, the Tar Heels win 69-56, and this is Mark Washington for NTC Media.